sumo squat. The sumo squat is just a variation of a squat with a wider stance. So when we're getting set up for our squat or our sumo squat, you're going to be putting your feet in a position that is just wider than your normal range of motion stance. So if you're a person whose stance is a little bit outside of the shoulders, that means you're just going a little bit wider. Okay, if you're at the shoulders or at the hips, depending on where your hip range of motion is, you just essentially widen your feet outside of the shoulders, and then the wider you go, the more you actually have to point your toes out. Okay, so if I'm starting here, my feet are normally forward or slightly pointed outwards. The more that I take those steps out, the more that my feet are going to go wider. The reason for that is the wider that our knees go and the way our pelvis or our hips move, we just need that range of motion, and we need our knees to track in the proper position. So if we're here, our hips want to come in, but our knees aren't allowing that to happen. So when we're going down through that motion, right, we can keep our hips in a nice sort of standard and a nice central position instead of going here where it tends to want to either cave in or cave backwards, right? So we just need to make sure knees and our feet are helping dominate and help push that movement in the right direction. So when we're going through a sumo squat as well, right, everything else stays the same. Try to keep your shoulders broad as much as possible. We're still pushing your hips backwards, okay, first with the bend of our knees. So it is still bending at the hips, knees, and ankles. So keeping that chest upright, we're gonna actually hold on to that dumbbell here out in front of the body, because the whole goal is to try to touch this dumbbell to the ground, okay? So going through that range of motion, right, keeping the shoulders broad, engaging the core as we are doing that squat, okay? As we kind of push our hips back and bend the knees, right, we're going until we can feel that dumbbell hit the ground, okay? So the biggest difference between a sumo squat and a normal squat, range of motion, front squat, or on anything like a kettlebell front load, you're gonna feel this a little bit in the hip flexors. You're gonna feel that nice pull here. But you're gonna feel it sort of like on the inside of the leg, so that groin-ish area. And essentially just like that back side of the leg, especially in the upper hamstring and the lower glute. And that is the dumbbell sumo squat.